All right, we are live. And let me go over to Instagram and hit go live. Let's see what happens. I say something went wrong. So create live video, public, next.
You're good on my end.
As far as what?
You're live on my channel and
Okay. Awesome. Let me see her. I don't know why it's not doing it. I copied it and everything. Let me try this here. Let me try. Hey, what up, April? What up, Vanessa? Christina? Okay, they coming on in. She say flying solo. Hey, Darius, go back to the first page and see on the I don't know, they might kick you off. Let's not do that. I'll just play with it next time. Thank you.
Get back in if I come out.
Y'all gonna say go on that page and see can you hit live on the Instagram and see what happens. Because I got it set. I thought I had it set up.
Okay.
I thought I had it set up. What's going on, everybody? We are still working the kinks out. But we get ready to get this started here in a second. Get ready to get this thing started here in a second. Definitely invite people in. It's going to be very informative. As you know, we don't hold back. We do not hold back information at all. We do not hold back information. Not at all. Not at all. But this is going to definitely be a good one tonight because oftentimes people don't know that you actually control your own destiny when it comes to your credit. You have full control over what you do, how you use it, how much money you spend, how much you pay off. Sometimes we need to read the small print when it comes to interest rates, which on credit cards are generally high. I'm talking anywhere from 21 to 27%, particularly if you're getting cash off your cards. They really bust your heads right there. That's normally 27% or above to get cash off a credit card. So some of those things that we do have control over, I'm going to talk about tonight. 5 methods that you can actually use right now to increase your credit score. And again, you have full control over these methods. All right, full control. One of those methods is paying down debt. All right. When it comes to debt, you have what's known as a credit utilization. A credit utilization is the ratio of your current credit card balances to your credit limits. What that means is this. Let's say you have a $1,000 credit card and your utilization is the percentage of that credit card you use. If you spend $500 on that credit card, your utilization is 50%. If you spend $200 on that credit card, your utilization is 20%. So you have total control over your credit utilization. Just yesterday, I did a consultation with a guy, and he wanted to hire me to fix his credit. However, after reviewing his credit reports, I had to be honest with him and tell him that he didn't need to hire me. He had a great credit profile, great credit mix. He paid his bills on time. The thing that was hindering him was his credit cards were almost maxed out. And because his credit cards were almost maxed out, credit utilization was extremely high. So I told him, if you pay your cards down, pay them down, and guess what's going to happen? The score is going to go up. Okay. Now, there is what's known as a 30% rule when it comes to credit cards. All right. So the 30% rule is this. If you are applying for new credit, you want to have your current credit utilization 30% or lower. Okay? Creditors do not like to see high limits being spent on your credit cards because to them, they look at it as if you're living off your credit. And that's what they don't want. They don't want people that's living off their credit. Remember, credit cards are supposed to be, quote unquote, a luxury. For us now in this day and age, we are using credit as a way to leverage to assets. So those days of taking our credit cards, going shopping, going on vacation, turn out the mall, those days, guys, are over. We have to take our credit and we have to leverage our credit to create assets. So when we talk about the 30% rule, whenever you're applying for new credit, you want to make sure that all your current credit cards are 30% or lower when it comes to the balances. And actually what I tell my clients, what has worked for me, is 10% or lower. The more you have on that credit card, the less debt you owe on that credit card, the more likely you will get approvals for new credit. So now, one thing that you do have in control, one of the methods to increase your credit score is pay your current debt as low as possible. Remember, the lower the utilization, the higher your credit score goes. All right. So my partner said you want everybody to hit the like button. If you're with us, hit that like button. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Another method, opening new accounts. I cannot tell you how many of my clients only have one bank account. And this is the only bank they've banked with. They don't do anything else. The bank with this one bank. I currently have 9 accounts right now. I currently have 9 accounts in about 5 different states. I want to say my wife has like 6 or 7 accounts. Why? You have 3 different credit bureaus, okay? You have TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. These 3 do not communicate with each other. They do not communicate with each other. So if I bank with Bank A, who pulls from TransUnion, I go to Bank B, who pulls from Equifax, and I go to Bank C, that pulls from Experian. And remember, these banks do not communicate with each other. I'm able to get maximum funded from each bank. Okay, so if I go to Bank A and get a $20,000 credit card, go to Bank B, get a $20,000 credit card, go to Bank C, get a $20,000 credit card. And remember, everything we say from experience. I've actually done this, not only with credit cards, I've done this with personal loans, and I've done this with vehicles. I was able to purchase 3 vehicles in 1 week because I went to each different bank and got an auto loan from each one the exact same week. So remember, whatever we talk about, we discuss from experience, okay? So I suggest to all our clients have several banking accounts, okay? Now, why do we want to do this? Banks have what's known as, first, credit builder programs. Almost every bank or credit union have credit builder programs. You just have to ask about them. Some of them are great. Simmons, Commerce, Truist Bank, they have great credit builder programs. Some of them not so great, but it doesn't hurt to at least ask. You have to ask the right questions, okay? So now, Credit Karma and Credit Sesame is not your friend, guys, okay? Credit Karma and Credit Sesame are not your friends. What they do is they recommend to you these subprime credit cards that generally comes with a yearly fee, and the limits are nowhere between $300 to $500. That's it. Some of those credit cards never get unsecured. Okay, some of those credit cards never get a credit line increase. That they can serve a purpose if you know how to utilize them. DM me if you do have those cards. I'll teach you how to properly use them. All right, and we're going to talk about those more later. With the banks, you can get what's known as a secure card. A secure card generally starts around $300 and up. I think Navy Federal lets you go as far as $5,000 on a secure card. Now you have to remind yourself, whenever you put money on this secure card, you're not losing your money. You're just putting your money on the card, so you're not losing money. What's great about a secure card is, one, it's coming from a bank. All right, it's coming from a legitimate institution or credit union. Two, within 91 days, based off your credit score, those secure credit cards unsecure. All right. Let me give you a quick story. When I first started getting into credit, my first secure credit card came from Navy Federal. I put $500 on that card, and I was actively working on repairing my credit. Now, it took me 6 months to get that card unsecured because my credit was so bad. But after 6 months, Navy Federal sent me an email saying that the $500 that I put on the secure card was returned to my savings account. All right, they're going to return the money back. The money that you put on the card, they're going to return it. And they're going to unsecure the card and make it a regular credit card. And it went from $500 to $2,100. All right. So as you work on your credit, those secure credit cards will unsecure, and the money that you put on the cards will return to your account. Okay. And that's the great thing about dealing with getting secure cards from banks and credit unions, as opposed to getting secure cards through Credit Karma or Credit Sesame. Again, a lot of those cards don't even have credit line increases. I had an Indigo credit card for 2.5, almost 3 years with a $300 limit. Never increased. I even called to try to get an increase, and they said, we don't do that. We don't. Once it's at 300, it stays at 300. And they charge $98 or $95 a year annual fee. So you got to be real careful when you're dealing with Credit Karma and Credit Sesame. All right. Another way to increase your credit score, Navy Federal has a pledge loan, and actually all banks and credit unions have something similar. Some of them call them a certificate of deposit, a certificate of deposit. Some call them pledge loans. In essence, they're all the same. But the reason why I point out Navy Federal pledge loan is because this is how it works. You call Navy Federal, the money has to be sitting in your savings account because they're going to take it from the savings account. You call Navy Federal, you say, hey, I want to do a $1,000 pledge loan, and they're going to email you the documents as if you were taking out an actual loan. What Navy Federal is going to do, they're going to take your money, report it on your credit report as a loan, okay? And then only charge you like a 1% interest monthly payments. Now, there are certain tactics you could use to trigger this. And if you want to know more about the pledge loan, again, hit me in the DM, send me an email. Let's do a consultation call. I will teach you about this and more. No, certain things you can't say on here. But the Navy Federal pledge loan, the more that you could pledge into the loan, the more they're going to add to your credit report. And it's going to look like you actually did a loan. Okay, it's going to look like you got a loan from Navy Federal. If banks or other institutions see that, okay, Navy Federal gave this person a loan, then he must have a sense of credit worthiness. They don't know that it's a pledge loan, that you actually pledge your own money, and they're going to loan you back your money, and it's going to report on your credit report as a loan. Now, what's great about Navy Federal pledge loan? Other institutions, okay, when you do a pledge loan with them, they keep the money until the money is repaid. And they think they give you like a little small interest on top of it while they're holding it in escrow. So I go to Bank A and give them $1,000. I don't get that $1,000 back until I pay the $1,000 back. With Navy Federal, when you do a pledge loan with them, they give you the money right back. All right. You do not miss it. If you pledge $1,000 with them, they get $1,000 right back. Now, one of the hacks that my clients, I'll have my clients do with Navy Federal is get multiple pledge loans, especially if your credit report is in really poor health. You could take $3,000 and get 3 different pledge loans with the same $3,000, because remember, they're going to give you the money back. So you call on Monday, you get a pledge loan for $3,000, they give it back. You call on Tuesday, you get a pledge loan for $2,000, they give it back. You call on Wednesday, you get a pledge loan for $1,000, they give it back. So now you got 3 positive accounts reporting on your credit report that's going to increase your score, all from one $3,000 commitment. That's it. And those repayments are so simple. And again, there are ways that you could trigger the algorithm to even push your score even higher, but those are conversations that I have to have off the live. All right. And again, avoid subprime credit cards. Again, they do serve a purpose. All right. They do serve a purpose. But oftentimes with these subprime cards, you're going to have low credit card limits, which oftentimes for most people, you get a $300 card, you're going to blow straight through it. Let's just be honest. You know what I'm saying? You get a $300 credit card, you're going to blow straight through it. You get a $200 credit card, you're going to blow straight through it. It really, really doesn't serve the purpose that you may need it to serve, other than going out to get something to eat, buying DoorDash. And what happened is that you really get so depressed with these cards that you don't even pay them off because the interest be so high. I would say 95% of my clients have one of these subprime cards on their credit report. I guarantee you, whether it's Indigo, Credit One, First Premier, Milestone. Again, they serve a purpose, but you have to use them properly and pay them off. Because if you hold a balance on one of these type of cards, the interest is incredible. Like, the interest is nuts. And oftentimes we don't read our billing statement to actually understand what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't read the billing statement. We don't see the interest rates. But the interest rates will absolutely kill you when it comes to these subprime cards. I have clients that literally have 15 of these. And if you combine the total of all 15 together, it's not even $3,000. And I want you to think about this also when it comes to subprime cards, as opposed to getting secured cards from banks. If I am a lender, okay, let's say I'm American Express, I'm Discover, I'm a Capital One, and I look at your credit report and I see up and down your credit report, you have all these subprime cards. And the highest limit is $300. Why would I give you a $10,000 credit card and you can't manage a $300 credit card? Why would I give you a $10,000 credit card? And Shamara says, yeah, baby, I had a First Premier. Yeah, I had one too. I actually, backstory, I had an Indigo and a First Premier. And again, they serve their purpose. They do, because they report on your credit report. They do serve a purpose. But once I got into a better credit health, I closed both the accounts. And even though some people say don't close accounts, which really you shouldn't, but it depends on which accounts you close. And for me, those limits were like $300, and I just went on to close them on out because, again, my credit was in better health at the time when I did it. So to go back, as opposed to dealing with Credit One, Indigo, Milestone, First Premier, so on and so forth, I recommend that you invest in yourself and go and get a secured card from a bank or credit union. All right. And then think about this too. When you dealing with those subprime cards, it's like, it's a mental thing. Like, it's free money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't do anything to get this card other than apply for it. However, when you get a secure credit card, you know that you put your money on that card, and you tend to treat it just a little bit better than you would one of these subprime cards. All right. Plus the fact that you have a relationship that you can destroy with this banking institution. The last thing you want to do is get your name in check system. I'll tell you that right now. You got these scammers out here talking about some, give me your bank account number, your route number, and I'm going to bless you with $5,000. Listen, Listen, they are going to get you in check system. And once you get in check system, when I tell you it's hell to get out of there, it is hell to get out of check system. What check system is, it's the bank's way of finding out if you committed any kind of fraud in any bank anywhere in the United States. So you could be in California and committed, some kind of fraud, and the bank in Illinois would know through check systems. And once you're in check systems, it's a system, a process to get out. I've done it before. So if you are currently in check system and you're having issues, open up, banking account, get at me. There are a couple of banks that actually have what's called second chance banking. And yeah, it's a process. It's definitely a process. Okay. All right. Another way you can increase your credit score, believe it or not, is by not applying for anything. Right now, this is the season where a lot of the big box stores are trying to get as many subscribers as possible. A lot of the big box stores are offering you Afterpay, and I think it's called Klarna, and a couple other places where you pay in installments. Please, 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 please stay away from those places. If you go to Foot Locker and you're going to buy a pair of Jordans, and those Jordans cost you $300, and you have to put it on Afterpay and pay $75 a month, then maybe you shouldn't have those Jordans. And think of it like this. Again, if I'm a lender and you're applying for a $10,000 credit card with me, and I see that you can pay off, you put a pair of Jordans on a payment plan. Think about it. You put a pair of Jordans on a payment plan, but you want a $10,000 credit card from me. Chances are you're not going to get it. Those places absolutely destroy your credit. Afterpay, Klarna, it's like 20 of them out there. Walmart just added the system into their checkout. So now you can go to Walmart, buy all your groceries, and put it on a payment plan. What lender is going to give you money when you had to put groceries on a payment plan? Think about it. What auto dealership is going to approve you for a vehicle and you had to put targets on a payment plan? Try to avoid those places like the plague when it comes to those type of services. Those services are not good for anybody. And again, we never talk about the interest. The interest rate on those services are stupid, absolutely stupid. No different than you got companies like Fingerhut. People say, oh, no, put Fingerhut on your credit. Lenders don't give a damn about Fingerhut. All right? They don't give a damn about Fingerhut. So, and another thing, when you go to stores like Kohl's, Targets, Walmart, always in the checkout, you got a cashier. You get 25% off your purchase if you apply for this card. Most of us know we already got bad credit, but we're thinking, I want 25% off this purchase. So I'm apply anyway. Don't do it, because you're going to get what's called a hard inquiry. All right. A hard inquiry can stay on your credit report for up to 2 years. It used to be methods that you could remove hard inquiries. One of the most simplest method was the telephone method. You could call Treasury, Equifax, and Experian, call them on the phone. Hey, look, I got my credit report. I know I got these inquiries on here. This is not mine. I did not commit these. And they will remove them just that quick. But what happened is everybody started talking about this method through social media. They found out about it. So their algorithm kind of changed a little bit. People would say, hey, call TransUnion, dispute the inquiries. If the person you're talking to doesn't sound like they're working with you, hang up, call the next person. Well, that method really doesn't work anymore. And the reason why is because now they know when you hang up and you call back. Because when you call back, you're going to say, oh, you was just on the phone talking about this. And another thing, I tell people this. If you're going to do the phone method, be prepared. Make sure it's a day that you don't have to be at work. All right? It's going to take a lot of patience, because you're talking to people that's in the Philippines who's reading a script, okay? They've been trained not to help you. Think about that. They have been trained not to help you. So whatever you say, they have a line that they read off a script that's going to dispute whatever you say. They're going to dispute it. So when you call them and say, hey, look, I didn't make this charge, this wasn't me, they're going to say, hold on, let me transfer you to another department. And you're going to be on hold for maybe 30 to 45 minutes. And then that person's going to pick up. They're going to tell you, hold on, let me transfer you to another department. And finally, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to say, I want to talk to your manager. And they're going to hang up on you. You're going to start all over again. Ask me how I know. I've done it too many times. I've done it too many times. So the phone method has become very difficult to use. Not to say it doesn't work, but it's becoming increasingly more difficult to use the phone method to remove hard inquiries, because oftentimes they know that you actually made the inquiry. That's the part you got to realize, is that, even when it comes to credit repair, my job is to convince them that you didn't do something, even though you and I probably both know you did it. Now, there are cases where you didn't do it. There are true identity theft cases. Unfortunately, almost every identity theft case I've dealt with, it was a family member, close friend of a family member. It was someone that you let in your house that got access to your information. It wasn't like somebody went into a grocery store and stole the employee files. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was always someone that was close to the family in those cases of identity theft. I've had sisters, sons, did it to their fathers, sisters did it to their sisters, so forth and so on. But hard inquiries will stick around for 2 years on your credit report, and they will drop off on the 2-year anniversary date. In some cases, you can get them removed through challenging them through letters. But again, it's increasingly more difficult. We're talking maybe 6 months in order to get inquiries off. All right. Also, when I say don't apply for anything, the fear of missing out, that goes back to when you're in the department store line and they're always offering you, 10% off, 20% off if you apply. Costco, Sam's, I know Kohl's is big for it. Walmart is big for it. Just don't do it. And the best way not to do it is to freeze all your reports. I talk about that often. Freeze your credit reports. You don't have to worry about that. Even if it's something that just triggers and you're like, oh, sure, I do it. As soon as you apply, it's going to bounce back because your report is froze. So you're actually saving yourself from you. And that's what I tell my clients when I send them the links to freeze their reports. I'm actually saving you from you, so I can look at your inquiries and I can tell exactly your spending habits, Before we get into credit phishing, I want to talk about one more thing also. When we talk about inquiries, auto dealerships are the worst place to buy a car. And I know we've seen our grandparents do it. I know we've seen our parents do it. I know we probably bought our first car from a car lot and we didn't learn our lesson from it. So we're teaching it to our children. Do not purchase vehicles from a auto dealership. It is the worst thing you can do, is buying a car from an auto dealership. Why? Auto dealerships need funding. All right. When you go to a car dealership, they don't fund you the money. They don't finance the vehicle for you. They outsource the finances to someone. They have hundreds of lenders nationwide that they deal with. So what happens is this: you go to the car lot, you see a vehicle you like, you submit the application. And the reason why you sit in that office for 3-4 hours, because the underwriters are in the back, sending that application to everybody he can to see who he can get to finance that vehicle for you. And that's how they determine the down payment based off your credit. So let's say you have great credit. They still gonna run your credit. Say you have great credit. You don't have to put no money down, but they're still gonna run your credit because someone still has to finance the balance. All right. So what happens is this. Let's say you go to the parking lot, you go to the auto dealership lot, and you only got 3 inquiries on your credit report. By the time you leave, you will have 20, because every time he submits your application to another lender, every time it's denied by that lender, he submits to somebody else. So I have clients that got literally 50 inquiries on their credit report because they took a weekend car shopping. You know, and they just went from lot to lot trying to get a vehicle, and these car dealerships just kept running the shit out of their credit. The best thing you want to do is establish your relationship with your credit union or your bank. Like I was telling you, I did. I bought 3 cars in the same week because each bank pulled from a different bureau. So the best thing you want to do is have a check in hand. Apply with your local bank, apply with your credit union. And by relationship is this: open the account. I hear a lot of these gurus say, oh, open the account, put $5,000 in it. Open the account. That's it. You don't have to put nothing in there. Just open. Once you open that account, that establishes your relationship with that bank. All right. Then once your credit is in position, then you start applying for services and funds. But only thing you have to do is open the account. I have opened up accounts with $50 for clients, and they got approved for $10,000 credit cards. Just happened day before yesterday. Just happened day before yesterday. He had $50 in a checking account, $50 in a savings account. We applied for a credit card. He got $10,300. Just did it yesterday. Me and my wife have done it several times. I have accounts right now with $100 in it, but yet I got $30,000 credit cards from that same bank with $100 in the account. So establishing a relationship means simply opening an account. That's it. You don't have to do direct deposit. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. All right. You don't have to. Once you establish that relationship and your credit is in position, okay, go to that bank and apply for an auto loan. They're going to pull your credit one time. And if you're approved, they're going to give you a check. So imagine going to an auto dealership with a check in hand. You already got $36,000 check in your hand, and he doesn't know it. He doesn't know you already have a check in hand, because this is what my wife and I did. We were able to negotiate the prices of our vehicles lower because they didn't have to finance it. We already had a check. So when I told the gentleman that we're going to pay cash for the vehicles, oh, you're going to pay cash? Oh, let me go talk to my manager. Talk to him, get that price down. And I gave him a check. So we were able to save a few $1,000s on the vehicles that we bought because we had a check in hand. So think about that the next time you go car shopping. If you need a vehicle that bad, I would suggest buy here, pay here, as opposed to letting them just run your credit. Because if you need a vehicle that bad and you have bad credit, the down payment going to be incredible. I was with my lady's father. He owns a car lot in Charleston, South Carolina. I got an opportunity to work out there for a couple of weeks, and I watched how they actually operate behind the scenes, how they run your credit based off your credit score. The bank says, okay, we will only finance this much of the vehicle. The rest they have to pay. So you go on his lot, you see a vehicle you like for $20,000, your credit is $569. You're going to tell you I need $8,000 down because the bank will only finance the other $12,000. So that's just something to think about. The next time you go on car shopping, try to go with a check in hand. All right. Credit phishing. This is a big one. When I talked about all those inquiries, credit phishing is applying for too much credit at one time. This is what credit phishing is. This is an actual industry term, credit phishing. What happens is this. Again, you find yourself in desperation. You need some money, whether a repair, car broke down, something in your house needs to be repaired. I just have to get my hands on some money. I need a loan. I need this. I need that. And credit phishing is when you start to apply for too much funding or too much service at one time, and it shows financial desperation. Again, I could look at your credit report and I could tell you exactly mentally, psychologically, how you handle money, how you handle your credit, just based off your inquiries. If I see the same date applying for something, like say it's November 10th, and I'm looking at November 10th, 2023, you have 14 inquiries on that one day. I knew something happened, that out of financial desperation, you needed some money. If I see Lending Tree, Up Loans, Best Egg, I see all these lending companies, you know what I mean? If I see all these on your credit report, I know something happened that you needed money bad. And they call it financial desperation. And it's true what they say. When you have a lot of credit, they give you credit. Okay. When you don't have credit, they don't want to give it to you. But you could put yourself in position to where, let me start with this $2,000 credit card. Let me start with this $5,000 credit card, and let me show them that I'm responsible, because that's really the name of the game. You have to show lenders that you are responsible. You can trust me with your money. You can trust me. Look at my track record. I pay my bills on time. I pay my bills down. I am a responsible citizen. And that's really what the credit game is really all about, just being responsible. Now, the next thing that would increase your credit score is a credit mix. Oftentimes, you hear people talk about credit profile. And with your credit profile is, you could have a 700 credit score and not get approved for anything. To whereas a person over here could probably have a 675 credit score and get approved for everything. And the reason why is because he has a better credit mix. If your daughter is 16 years old and you made her an authorized user on your credit card, and you're a pretty responsible parent, you know about credit utilization, you know about credit mix, you know all the right things to do to keep a great credit health. When your daughter turns 18, she may have a 750, 775 credit score, because for 2 years you allow her as an authorized user on your credit card. Now, with that credit score, can she go to an auto dealership and get a car? Probably not. Could she get an apartment? Probably not. Could she get a credit card? Probably not, because she doesn't have a credit mix. They can look at the credit report and tell she's only been an authorized user on somebody's cards for the last 2 years, that she doesn't really have a credit history at all. But you can actually build a credit mix. It's not that difficult. Okay, so what is a credit profile? A credit profile is a summary of an individual's credit history, including payment records, outstanding debts, and other financial activities used by lenders to assess credit worthiness. Okay, in a nutshell, a credit profile is a mixture of services and credit on your credit report. He pays auto, he has a mortgage, or now you can even put your rent on your credit report. If you want to know more about that, DM me. I'll tell you. Oftentimes for us, that's our biggest bill every month is our rent. So in our mortgage. So there's the way you can add your mortgage, you can add your rent to your credit report. DM me, get a consultation. Let's talk about it. I'll show you how to do it for free. So now with your credit profile, you want a mixture. The lender said, okay, he pays his rent on time, or he pays his mortgage on time. He has a car note. He has credit cards. Let's say maybe he has a monthly furniture payment. That is considered a good mix. You have 3 types of credit. All this makes up the mix. Okay, you have 3 types of credit. You have revolving credit. Revolving credit is your credit cards. All right. You have a set limit. Say you have a $5,000 credit card, but that doesn't mean you spend $5,000 every month on the card. Some months you may spend $500, some months you may spend $2,000, but it revolves. The amount that you owe every month, it revolves. So that's why you call it revolving credit. Installment credit. Installment is a set payment every month. Your mortgage, your car note. If you have something that you're leasing or something that you're buying through a store, say like furniture, a computer, those payments tend to be the same payment every month. They don't change. That's what's considered installment credit. So something just happened. Hold up. Wait a minute. Oh, I just got kicked off for a second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Darius?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I got kicked off for a second. That's installment credit. All right. Installment credit is the same price, the same total that you pay every month. And then you have store credit. Store credit is a Target card, a Walmart card, Burlington, Costco, Sam. store credit is only can be used at that institution. I cannot use a Walmart card at Target. I can't use a Burlington card at Kohl's. So that's what's called a store credit. The one store credit card I see almost on every woman's credit report is Victoria's Secrets. Like, I don't know what Victoria's Secrets, I don't know what their marketing campaign is, but almost every woman client I have has had or have a Victoria's Secrets store card. Thought that was kind of funny. All right. Another way to increase your score, and I want to really put some emphasis on this here as far as trade lines. All right. There are the time to use trade lines and there are the time not to use trade lines. I think right now, people get so caught up on the credit score. And remember, the score don't mean anything. It's about the profile. All right. The credit score means absolutely nothing. People that brag about, I got a 750, I got an 800 credit score, it just makes them feel good to say that, because credit scores can be manipulated. Easy. Again, pay your debt down, score goes up. Trade line, score goes up. And new credit, scores goes up. So I mean, credit score can be manipulated so easy. It's about your credit profile. Now, trade lines is a method that a lot of people use at the right time. All right. Now, I've had some people add trade lines just because they want to see the score. It's something mental with them. Like, I just want to see my score in the 800, so I want to add these trade lines to it. But it's weird but true. Trade lines are simply authorized users. That's all it is. It's just another term for authorized users. Okay. Authorized user is someone who's considered responsible, who has a good length of credit history, who has high limit credit cards, that they are allowing you to piggyback on their cards because you're going to get all the benefits they have of having that card. Now, there are rules when it comes to this, all right? There are rules. And I think a lot of times people do not talk about the rules when it comes to authorized users. One of the rules is this: they have to owe very, very little on that card. They cannot have a high balance. You know, I have clients and they'll be like, oh, man, I'm on my auntie's card, man. And I look at the authorized user card and the card is $20,000, but she owes 17. Get off that card immediately. Exactly. I told somebody that today. I looked at the credit report. The mother-in-law had a $12,000 card. She owes $10,000. I said, get off that card immediately. Tell her to take you off. Because just like you get all the positive of an authorized user, you can also get all the negative of an authorized user. All right? You can get the positive and you can get the negative. The rule of thumb for an authorized user card is a 10% rule. All right? Whatever the limit of that card is, the most effective it would be for you if they only use 10% or less of that card. To give you an example, and I always use 10,000 because 10,000 is an easy number to deal with. Auntie has a $10,000 credit card. She only owes $500 on the card. You know, she used that card every month to pay one of her bills, and that's it. She puts you on as an authorized user. When she adds you as an authorized user, they're going to mail the cards with your name on it to her address. Auntie going to take those cards and put them away because she's not going to give them to you. All right? She's not going to give you the cards. But you're going to get all the benefits that that card has. So what's going to happen is that 9,000 plus is going to be added to your debt to income ratio. So now your utilization comes down. Okay? You follow me? That $9,000 on that card is going to be added to you. So now when you have a positive $9,000 on your credit report, all right, and your utilization is going to come down. And when your utilization comes down, your score increases. Another positive thing about a trade line is that it adds a new positive trade line to your credit report. Now, another rule to trade lines is this: some people can actually see it on your credit report, it says an authorized user. And they would negate that. They would say, okay, well, this isn't you, so we're not going to take this into consideration when making our decision, because we know this card doesn't belong to you. So you have to think about who you're dealing with when you're dealing with trade lines. And also with trade lines, once they hit your report, you want to already be in position to make a play. All right. I sell trade lines. Okay. And when I sell trade lines, I tell people, make sure whatever you get ready to do, you want to make that play, because with most people that outsource trade lines, they're only going to last 2 to 3 months on your credit report. That's it. I mean, it's not going to last the life of your credit report. Like most people like me, I'll let you, get a trade line for 2 or 3 months. And after that, I'm taking it back because I'm selling it to somebody else. It's one of my side hustles. And for anybody else out there, if you got high limit credit cards and you owe very little on the credit cards, or put yourself in position to owe very little on the credit cards, it is a very lucrative market with selling trade lines with authorized users. I know a guy right now makes about $25,000 a month out of New York. That's all he does. That's his job 24/7. And guess what? The cards are not his. He know people that got cards, and he negotiates with them, and hey, I'll give you this. So there are ways to make money. So with trade lines, you want to make sure that you're in a position to where you have a nice credit profile, you have low utilization, and the trade lines is going to simply boost your scores a little bit more to meet your financial need. And again, you want to make sure that whatever you're going after, that the trade line is accepted. I know with most credit cards, with trade lines, you will get approved. But if you're trying to get a mortgage, if you're trying to get, say, an auto loan, oftentimes they would see that trade line, they would see that authorized user, and they would say, hey, this is not you. And they know how to calculate without the authorized user. So they know, okay, if I remove the authorized user, let's see what his real credit score would be without the authorized user. Let's see what his real debt to income ratio would be without the authorized user. And that's another thing I think I need to discuss maybe in the next one when it comes to debt to income ratio, because oftentimes when we apply for credit, we don't understand that you can use the entire income of the household when you apply. Most of the time it says what is the household income. And say you got Sally who makes $48,000 a year, and she puts on the application, I make $48,000 a year, but her boyfriend lives there, or her husband or her girlfriend lives there, and they got 2 teenage kids that work at Wendy's, and you can literally take the entire household income and put it on your application when you're applying for services and funding, because it asks for the household income. So that's something to think about. Another reason why some people may be getting denied for credit, because your income is low. Or think about this here. Let's say you make $45,000 a year. Your rent is $2,500 a month. Your car note is $600 a month. Your insurance is $200 a month. What is your real debt to income ratio when it comes to what you make per year after taxes versus what you pay? Think about that. A lot of us, if we take our actual income and we do a debt to income ratio calculation, you'll sit back and be like, man, how the fuck am I even surviving out here? Like, how am I even living out here based off what I make? And oftentimes it's because of the person you with or the other people around you that support you and help you, your mate. You know what I'm saying? Like in my case, my wife, we do everything together financially, so stop putting just your income on applications. Put the entire household income. If it's 2 generations of people that live in one house, put everybody's income on that application. Okay, everybody. But going back to the 10% rule, whenever you use a trade line, you want to make sure that that person only owes 10% balance on their card. That's it. That's the only way it's going to help you. Just because they have a high limit card, that means absolutely nothing if they have a high amount of debt that they owe on the card. If they're just making minimum payments on the card, which is in the case of a lot of clients that I run across. Just because Auntie has a $25,000 card, but she owes $19,000 on it, that does not help you at all. Now, this is the big one, and this is the bonus right here. This is the big one. We're coming down to the last stretch, guys. Hanging up with me. We're coming down to the last stretch. Paying on the statement date versus the due date. I hear this a lot. People always asking me, what's the difference between the statement date? What's the difference in the due date? Why is that important? Why is it important for me to pay on this date as opposed to this date? First of all, I want to say, you could pay on any date as long as you pay on time. That's first of all, okay? The reason why it's important is based off of your credit goals. If you are positioning yourself to get new credit, okay? And remember, now we are leveraging credit to assets. We ain't shopping. We ain't going on vacation. We ain't buying no 4Gs for the car. We ain't doing that shit, all right? We're taking our credit and we're going to leverage it to assets, because for most of us, it's easier to get $100,000 in credit cards than it is to get $100,000 from the bank, okay? It's easier. It's easier for me to take 6 months, run my credit up, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 in credit cards. There are ways that you can liquidate the credit cards into cash. If you're in position right now to do that, DM me. Let's talk about it. I will tell you for free how to do it. There are ways to liquidate those credit cards into cash, take that cash, and create an asset. One of the ones I tell people all the time, especially if you got a credit card with, say, $10,000 on it, $15,000 on it, go to Facebook Marketplace, find you a mid-sized car, good condition, clean. Most of the people that sell vehicles on Facebook Marketplace are selling those vehicles out of financial desperation. You'll hear things like, oh, we're getting ready to move, we don't need an extra car or whatever, but they need that money. So if you can say, okay, here is a 2000 whatever car, mid-size, I can literally swipe my credit card, buy this car, and put that car on Turo. Put it on Turo. Or if you bought it for a good price, resell it. Make more money off of it. So there are ways to make money. You know, if you got, I explained this to my wife. Combined, we got maybe a little bit over $500,000 in credit combined, okay? We're putting ourselves in position to where we're actively liquidating the cards and we are investing in assets. So let's just say, right now my credit score is currently like a 740. Let's say I max out all my cards, my credit score drops to the 400s, but yet I got $300,000 in cash to invest in something. So now I leverage the credit to an asset, and I'm gonna let that asset pay off the credit because I understand credit utilization. I understand how to increase my score. As long as I start paying the debt down, my score would increase. As long as I make my payments on time, my score would increase. So credit is really a leverage. Don't get caught up on the credit score. All right, get that out your mind. All right, fuck a credit score. You know, what the fuck can I do with this money? That's what you need to be really thinking about. You know what I'm saying? What can I do with this money? You know what I'm saying? What can I create with this money? Can I go down to the LRA and buy some properties, 3 or 4 properties for $20,000, $25,000, package it up, run my ass down here to Justine Peterson or one of these organizations and get $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 per property to rehab? Because I've seen people do that. Okay, I've seen people do that. I've seen people go down to NACA and get $80,000, $90,000 to rehab property that they bought off their credit card. I've seen people do that, but you got to put your credit in position to do that, and it's not going to happen overnight. All right. When I first started doing credit, 3 to 6 months, finished. Now it's 69. Now it's 9 months to a year. I always tell a story of my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter went from high school straight to college, did 12 years straight in college, got a master's degree, had the worst credit score I ever seen in my life. She was like 380. Credit started at 350. Think about that. Credit scores start at 350. My daughter was in the 380s because while she was in college, they gave her every credit card she could think of: Student Discovery, Student Visa, Student Bank of America, Student this, Student that. And she maxed them out because she didn't know nothing about credit. She literally didn't think, well, if I max them out, I just file for bankruptcy. That was her attitude. I just file for bankruptcy and start over again. Like, no, we're not doing that. And it took me 3 years to get my daughter in good credit health. Three consistent, because credit repair is all about consistency. 3 consistent years to get her in good credit health. But now she's there. Now she's ready to say, okay, Daddy, what's my next move? No, what should I do now? Because we're not taking credit cards going to Hawaii. We're not creating debt, okay? We're not creating debt. If we do create debt, it's going to be good debt. It's going to be that Robert Kiyosaki debt. That's the kind of debt we want. I want that Robert Kiyosaki debt. That's what I want. I don't mind being $10 million in debt when I know I can leverage the debt. And see, people don't know about that. You can actually leverage your debt, because guess what happens if you don't pay it off? Somebody might get an email. You loan this man this much money and he couldn't pay it off. They're going to loan you more money to make money to pay the debt. That's what's considered good debt. Donald Trump taught us that. He talks about it all the time. Robert Kiyosaki talks about it all the time. That's good debt. You got people out here right now taking credit cards, buying property, buying vehicles. That's good debt. We'll probably talk about that on the next show. Like, man, I get passionate when it comes to this credit, man, because it changed my life, and I've seen the life of other people that it has changed. Like, I really get passionate about it, because I have clients that were in dire situations, and it was patient enough to get to where they need to be, and they did the right thing. So I get really passionate when it comes to this, because I know as a people, sometimes it's hard for us to get conventional loans. It's hard. I've tried it. Even with a good credit rating, I've tried it. You know what I'm saying? I've went into the bank and tried to borrow $250,000, $500,000, even with a great credit rating, with a great credit profile, and I was still denied. And it happens. No, we just say Navy Federal just went through a big scandal where they were just denying people for homes and property. You know what I'm saying? And the majority of the people are like me, that they were denying. It happens. But guess what? Now we got another method. We got another way that we can control. You can control your credit. You can control paying your bills on time. You can control that. You can control not applying for more shit that you don't need. You can control not doing afterpay, karma, and all that other shit. If you can't afford it, why put it on a payment plan? Why put it on a payment plan? You still can't afford it. It's still not yours, and it ruins your credit. Do you really need it that fucking bad? Do you need it that bad? Think about it, especially if you're a mother with children, you can get your children in better communities. I live in St. Louis. And thank God I'm afforded the opportunity to live outside the city. I'm in the city every day, but that shit is Beirut. I couldn't imagine being a parent, man, having to raise my children like that, man. But you got the fucking opportunity to get them out of there. So how selfish could you be as a parent, knowing that I could get my kid out of here? And you don't. My baby mother would tell you I was choking water to put my kids in a better position, man. Before I even knew about credit. What kind of parent of you to know that your child is walking to school going to Beirut? School today, half the fucking school OD today. Half the school OD. Come on, man. And you got the power to change that. I guarantee you, walk up in any Family Dollar in Walmart when them income tax return checks drop, and watch how full of them carts be with bullshit. I was a store manager at Family Dollar. I seen it. Tax season, 5 carts full of bullshit. And you ride right around the corner living in Jennings. Well, you could have changed the trajectory of your life, man. You could have changed your life just by fixing your fucking credit. That's it. Fix your credit. I don't care if it's me or whoever. Fix your credit. That's it. So, sorry for preaching, man. I get passionate about this. But you have a statement date versus the due date. All right. The due date is typically 21 days before the statement date. All right. And remember, unless you are trying to what they call make a play, as long as you pay your bills on time, it doesn't matter if you pay on the due date or the statement date. However, if you are one of those people that are trying to put yourself in position to increase your credit score, apply for new funding, what you want to do is you want to pay by that statement date. If you look on your credit card statement, you're going to see both dates. You're going to have one going to say statement date, one is going to say due date. The reason why you want to pay by the statement date is because the statement date is the day they get reported to the bureaus. All right, not the due date. The statement date is the date that the agencies report everything they have on you to the credit bureaus. So let's say I have a Chase Bank card. It's a $10,000 limit. I owe $1,000, and I pay that $1,000 by the statement closing date. The next time I get a credit report, it's going to say Chase Bank zero balance. Now, if I just pay by the due date, it's going to say Chase Bank $1,000 balance. You see the difference? So if I'm trying to run a play and I'm trying to get new credit or new funding, then I need to pay by that statement date, because that statement date is what's going to increase my credit score, not the due date. Now, again, either one is good as long as you pay on time. And that's the one thing that's the most critical with anything, is paying your bills on time. All right. That's the one thing that creditors look for. You know, even if you in a position to where, man, I can't pay the whole thing, at least pay that minimum. And guess what? A closed mouth don't get fed. You can actually sometimes call these people and say, hey, look, this is what's going on with me this month. Can I move my payment date to this date? Most creditors allow you twice a year or sometimes even 3 times a year to change your statement date and your due date. So let's say you switch to another job, that bill is due on the 20th, but you don't get paid till the 24th. You can actually call them and say, hey, look, I got a new job. This is what's going on. And they will accommodate you. You know, if you can't pay the entire total, pick up the phone, call them. Hey, look, I can't afford that $158 payment this month. You know, can I pay half of that, or can I split the payment in half? Can I pay one half on the 15th and one half on the 31st? A lot of those places are accommodating. Like, they're very professional. And again, you just have to open up your mouth. And I'm one of those people, as you can tell, I'm not afraid to ask questions. If you let me, I will keep you on the phone for hours. Anyone who has ever done a consultation with me would tell you I would have paid $100 instead of just $10. I would have paid $100 for the information that I got from him and the length of time that he gave it to me. Like, I tell people, be prepared. I text you before the consultation. Hey, look, give me your top 5 questions, top 10 questions. And then some people, I don't know, they're prepared. They already know what they want to ask. They know what they're trying to accomplish. And the number one question is always how long it takes. And no one can tell you how long it takes. Like, no one can tell you that. Again, I've been doing my daughter for 3 years. I have clients that have been with me for 2 years. You know, I have clients that was in and out in 6 months. You know, everybody's situation is different. You know, when you're talking about if your car got repoed, you know, takes a repossession takes a lot of paperwork, a lot of documentation on your end that you have to give me. You know, and if you're the type of person that's lazy, if you're the type of person that always make excuses, the process is only going to take longer, because credit repair it's a teamwork, it's team effort. It's things that I have to do on my end. It's things that you have to do on your end. And trust me, I know life happens. I know I have a client text me, man, Mo, I missed this payment. Don't kill me, because they know how passionate I am about this, you know? So, but I know sometimes life happens, things happen. And right now, they just reported that the average American don't have $1,000 in case of an emergency. Think about that. The average person don't have $1,000 in case of an emergency. $1,000. I know people that go to strip clubs and throw $1,000 in the air. The average person don't have $1,000. So that's something to think about when you talk about credit. All right. So you want to pay on that statement closing date because that's the date they get reported to the bureau. And I have to emphasize, whether you pay on the due date or the statement date, it really doesn't matter as long as you pay on time. Okay. But if you're trying to make a play, if you're trying to get new funding, if you're trying to apply for something, you want to pay by that statement date. All right. So let's do a quick recap. Some of the things, some of the methods that you can do in order to increase your credit score that you have total control over. You can do these things. If you have current credit cards, pay down the balances. Even if they're subprime cards, even if they're the Indigos and whatever, pay down the balances. If you know that you're trying to put yourself in position, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, I want to buy a new house, I want to buy a new car, pay those cards down to close to zero balance and throw them in the bedroom drawer and don't use them. Don't use them. If you have to use the credit card, then maybe you don't need to purchase what you're trying to purchase, especially if you're trying to make a play for something, if you're trying to build something in the future. Be mindful of inquiries. Understand that every time you apply for something, it's called a hard inquiry. If you get denied for what you're applying for, your credit score is going to take a ding. Okay, your score is going to decrease. If you apply for something and you get approved, you may lose 1 or 2 points, but it'll rebound the following month. But if you're not approved, not only do it stay on there for 2 years, but you're going to take a ding on your credit score. Maintain a healthy credit mix. Remember, we talked about installment credit. We talked about revolving credit. We talked about store credit. Installment credit is credit cards. The limit is the same, but what you owe on the card changes month to month based on how much you spend on the card. Installment credit is your mortgage, your rent, your car note. It's the same amount that's reported every month. And then you have store credit. That's your Walmart cards, your Burlington Coat Factory cards, the Costco. Those are cards that can only be used at that store and nowhere else. Then we talked about trade lines. Remember, trade lines are only good if the owner of the card only owes 10% or less on the card. They cannot have a 30, 40% balance on that card and it's useful for you. Just like you take all the positive of that card, you can also take all the negative of that card. If that authorized, if the person that owns the card missed a payment, that 50 to 100 points that they're going to lose, you're going to lose. So you got to think about that when you're dealing with trade lines, especially if it's someone that you know. They have to be responsible. Now, normally, if you're dealing with, like, say, a professional outsourcer, when it deals with trade lines, first of all, you want to make sure they're credible. All right, it's a lot of scamming going on right now. It's a lot of scamming going on, particularly on social media. Okay, there are people that try to use CPNs. You got to be careful. CPNs are illegal. All right, I want to repeat that. CPNs are illegal, and you will go to prison. And guess who's going to go to prison? You, not the person that sold or built you the CPN. You're going to go to prison because oftentimes these people are hidden behind a camera or a cell phone or social media. You have no clue who they are. You're going to get a CPN. You're going to go to the dealership trying to get a Hellcat. They're going to call the sheriffs on you, and you're going to the feds. Okay, so CPNs is considered wire fraud. So you don't want to do that. You want to use someone that's credible when it comes to trade lines, someone who's responsible. Avoid credit phishing. Credit phishing is applying for too much credit in such a short period of time. I told you about the auto dealership, the worst place to go to get a car. You want to go there with a check already in hand because auto dealerships, they're going to take your information and they're going to throw it out to 200 different lenders to see who will pick up who will finance the vehicle. And oftentimes you're going to end up having a lot of hard inquiries. And some people would know what happened. Like me, I could look at your credit report and be like, okay, you got 30 inquiries on this one particular day. I know you went to a dealership. I know automatically. Some people don't know. Believe it or not, there are even some banks that don't know. when they look at your credit report. They think that you just start applying for a bunch of stuff, but they don't know that all those inquiries came from one place. And you can't assume that because somebody works at a bank that they're financially literate, because they're not. I'll tell you that right now from experience. So don't assume because somebody works at a bank that they're financially literate. They probably know as much as you do when it comes to credit. All right. And I with all sincerity, I know this from experience. Also, understanding the difference between the payment date and the statement date, the due date and the statement date. Again, as long as you make your payments on time. I would rather deal with collections than deal with late payments. Late payments, you're literally at the mercy of the creditor. All right. If you make a late payment, the only thing you could do is basically beg the creditor to remove it. Come up with an excuse, try to play on his heartstrings. Man, look, I'm trying to buy a house. I got this late payment. Please, can you remove it? It's up to them to remove it or not. All right. That's if you got one. Now, if you got more than one late payment, you're dead. They're not going to do it. Okay. They're not going to do it. If you got a 60-day late, 90-day, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. But if you got one late payment, which I recently had a case out of Florida where a guy had a one late payment because he transitioned from Florida to California, but now he's back in Florida, but he missed a payment. And it took us 4 months to go back and forth with his credit card company. They finally said, okay, we'll remove it. We'll remove the late payment. But that's the only way to get a late payment removed, is to be at the mercy of the creditor. That's it. But if you got more than one, they're not going to do it. I guarantee they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. All right. And that's it for tonight. We'll be back next Wednesday. Anybody got any questions for me real quick? Hey, Darius, can you see any questions down there? You still there, Darius?
Yep, still here. No questions.
No questions. Anybody got any questions before we leave? We'll be right back next Wednesday, same time. Next week, I want to bring up a guy by the name of Pierre Thompson. He deals with options trading. He's a master. He is a master of options trading. He makes really, really good money. And what I like about Pierre is his honesty. I went to one of his seminars on options trading, and he was showing us receipts about how much money he made, right? And that's what a lot of you see these scammers do on social media. They're always showing you their bank accounts, and they're showing you receipts. I did this today. I did that. However, Pierre will let you know, in order to get this kind of outcome, you have to have massive income. So I'm going to deal with people that can start with $100, $150, and maybe, you're not going to make, $20 a day, $30 a day. But if I could show you techniques where you can make, an extra $20 a day based off how much money you're starting with, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's why I like him. Okay, what's that trade line? Can give you a quick summary of how that will help your credit if you're already in the 700s. If you're in the 700s, you're actually ready for funding. If you're in the 700s, it's all about your profile. You know what I'm saying? It's all about, do I have any late payments? Do I have any missed or late payments? Do I have any collection accounts? How many inquiries do I have with a 700 credit score? It's all about your profile. Now, if you have a good profile with that kind of score, you're ready to do anything with a 700 credit score. I tell people life changes at 700. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about every 91 days, you could probably run up anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 easy every 91 days, if not more, with a 700 plus credit score. And that is with a good profile. You got to have a good profile. And by that, I mean this. My wife recently got approved for American Express, Business Platinum, Gold Platinum, and Blue Card, right? All business cards. So, and I created my wife's LLC for her birthday, October 2022. All right. I created her LLC. Fast forward just 2 months ago, I was like, son, we haven't applied for nothing in a while. And I told my wife that we're only doing business credit from here on out. We got plenty of personal credit. We're only doing business credit from this point on. So I started with her first. And with American Express, they allow you to pull 3 to 4 products off one pull. So if you ever get approved for American Express, you can actually go back and get 3 or 4 more cards back to back. You don't have to wait. You get approved for one card, go right back in and apply for another one. Okay. It's going to be one credit pool. You're going to get 3 or 4 different products off one credit pool. So I applied for the American Express Platinum card. She got approved. So I went back in, I got the gold and I got the blue one. She got approved for all 3 of them, right? I go in and I apply and they ask me for financial documents. So I'm saying like, so things be different. You know what I mean? It'd be different. They didn't ask her for anything. And my LLC is older than hers. My business been around longer than hers. I have financial documents behind my business. I mean, they literally say, okay, hey, appreciate you applying. You need to send us some more documentation. But with her, she didn't have to send anything. So it's just, it's something that I'm trying to figure out that triggers the algorithm as to why would they ask me. And I think I'm in better condition than she is than for her. So now I say that to say this. Sometimes when you get a denial letter, you got to read those letters. If you apply for something and you get a denial email or a denial letter, you have to read why you were denied, okay? And then do reverse engineering to correct it. So when you go back and apply, you know this been corrected. So when I got the letter from American Express telling me why they wanted my documents, they said because I had a lot of personal credit. All right, they looked at my credit report and said, okay, this guy has a lot of personal credit. He has a lot of high-end credit cards. Why do you want a business card? And that's pretty much the reason why they wanted to get my financial records. So I tell clients all the time, if you get denied, read the reason why you were denied. That way you could correct that and go back in and apply. So I hope that answer helped you out. But yeah, you got to look at your profile and I'll be glad to help you. Anybody else have any questions?
I actually have a question, Mo. You know, still a student of the game. So I noticed when you get approved for, like you just said, you had too much personal credit. I'm assuming that they're going based off of like a ratio off of your personal income. So if you make 200 grand, they're gonna accept you up to a certain limit. Then once you go beyond that, it's kind of like, hey, you got too much for your income.
Absolutely. And that's why I say you want to include your total household income. And that's what you just said was absolutely correct, because that's my next move is to increase my personal income, because they're going to go off that debt to income ratio. So right now, if you look at my income versus my credit cards, it's like I have 4 times the amount of credit cards that are reported as my income. So if you have, you know, $400,000 or $500,000 worth of credit cards, but you're only saying you make $98,000 a year, you know, do regardless of the profile, regardless of the utilization, it's like you're dealing with a lot. And do we want to add on to that? So what you said is absolutely correct.
Yeah, because I have like 100,000, and I can't really. Every time I apply now, I'm only getting approved for like maybe 2 grand, 3 grand. 4 grand. Yeah. Before I was getting 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Now it's nothing.
But now, but you also look at that utilization. Look at the balance you owe on those cards. So
right.
What I would do is take a step back, pay down, give yourself the next 3 to 6 months, pay down your cards, and increase your total household income.
Okay.
Go back in, and I guarantee you're gonna get right back to those $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 credit cards. I guarantee it.
Okay, cool.
I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Anybody else out there have any questions before we leave tonight?
I don't see any more questions.
I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Remember, next week, 5:30 St. Louis time, 6:30 East Coast, 3:30 on the West Coast. We'll be right back. And again, I'm hoping to have a guest here. If not Pierre, it's going to definitely be somebody here next week that's going to bring value. We're talking about all things credit, Airbnb, Turo, you name it. You name it. We're trying to take our credit and leverage to assets. That's what this whole thing is about. If you got a $10,000 credit card, hey, let's make a play with it. Let's do something. Also in the St. Louis area, they got a big auction coming up in May. Get your money together, man. Go down there and get you some property cheap. And you guys have a great night. I appreciate you.